Welcome to the lab task Continuous Integration with Visual Studio Team Services. As a prerequisite to complete this, you will require a VSTS account, which you can get for free by going to visualstudio.com, this website, clicking Free Visual Studio, and under Visual Studio Team Services, clicking Free Account, and completing the wizard and the prompts as you go. The tasks we'll complete here will be importing the source code into your VSTS account, creating a continuous integration build within that VSTS project, and then testing the CI trigger in VSTS. So once your VSTS account is up and running, you'll be taken to your profile page where you can click New Team Project to create a new project within your VSTS account. And call it HOL. The important thing here is to select the version control as Git. We have an option here for TFVC as well. We'll select Git and click Create. And once that's created, you're prompted to populate your project repo. You can access this as well if this prompt doesn't come up by going to Code and clicking on Files. And within here you have several options for populating your repo. You can push it up from Visual Studio, you can clone it from an alternative location from a local repo, you can push it from a different location using Git client. You can download Git client from here for your own particular environment and then push your local repo up to VSTS. In our instance, we're going to clone a public repo, GitHub repo. So we'll use the import functionality. So we click import, and in the imported Git repository dialog, we make sure we have Git selected. We go to our public github.com parts unlimited repo, copy that URL, drop it into the clone URL box and click import. And once that's successfully done, you can click on Code, go to Files, and we can see our repo has been populated with the files from our Parts Unlimited, public Parts Unlimited repo. So next we need to create our build definition. So we go to Builds and Releases, and click Builds, and then we want to click on New Definition. There's various templates available here to integrate various different types of components and Universal Windows apps, Android, Jenkins, Gradle, Maven, Xamarin. We're going to select an empty template and click Apply. We'll take the default name, and we just need to make sure for the agent queue that we select hosted Visual Studio 2017 to make sure our build runs. And click on Get Sources. We have to specify what files to use with this build. There's a lot of different options here you can see as well, from Subversion to a remote repo, Bitbucket or GitHub. We're going to specify this project. We only have one repo in our project, which is HOL. Make sure it's on the master branch. We can see various options are available here, and we'll just click Save just to save those initial settings, and we'll continue to do that as we go through it, just to make sure we save our settings as we go. Now we need to add build tasks. So we click the plus sign on the phase 1. We want to click on Utility and scroll down and add a PowerShell task. And click Add. Then we want to configure that PowerShell task. We just give it the name build for now. File type, we want to specify the file path for type. For script path, we're going to point to a file that's already in our repo. It's the build PS1 file in the root of our repo files. And that's a PowerShell script which is going to perform various tasks using .NET Client. We need to feed some arguments, parameter values in here, and we'll use variable definitions to do that. Just be careful when you're putting these variable definitions in that you do have a space between them, otherwise you might get errors when the build actually runs. And then under advanced, we also need to specify a working directory, and again we'll use one of the default variable values. And under control options, we need to make sure we just have enabled checkbox checked. For the variable values we're using here, if you go to docs.microsoft.com and go to the page variables in release management, there's a good article here about the various variables that are available to you for system variables, release, agent, artifacts, etc. We can see this is one of the variables we're using here is the default working directory. That's a good article to refer to the variables you can use, what they are, and how you can use them. So we'll save that. You want to add another task. And this task is publish test results. Click add, and then we want to configure the publish test result values. You want to put it in a file called test results.xml. That'll change your display name, which is fine. We want to put it in form VS test format. We'll take the default value of system default working directory. We'll leave the remaining values as their default, and again click save. The next task we want to add is under utilities and copy files. This is going to pick up files that are generated by the build, put them in a particular format, in a zip format, and then drop them into a location where we can pick them up later on. So the source folder where you want to pick the files up from is going to be the staging directory. The files we want to copy are all files and all subfolders, which is specified by the two wildcards here, and put them in a zip format. And the location we want to put them is in this staging directory in a folder called drop. And that's going to populate our display name where the files are going to end up. And we can leave all the default values here. Again, the control option is enabled. We'll click save. And the last task we want to add here, by clicking on utility, and is to publish our build artifact, which we can pick up later when we wish to go to deploy it. The name we want to give this is drop. The path we want to publish it is our staging directory. The artifact name is drop, which will populate our display name as well, and the artifact type is server type. And again, just need to make sure that's enabled. And for all these tasks, for more specific details about how they are, or how you can configure them, what they are, how you can configure them, and for any other task that's available within VSTS, docs.microsoft.com will give a pretty good articles on how you can configure them and how they can be used within your projects, copy files, build artifacts, and that's the same for all of these and for any other task that's available within VSTS. Our next task is to configure a variable which we need to feed into our PowerShell script, and this is called build configuration, and the value of release. We don't need to modify it at queue time or runtime. We just need to make sure we typed it in correctly, build type release, and click save. Our next task is to configure the trigger. So we want to enable continuous integration, so when files are checked in, a build will automatically be triggered. So we move the slider over to enabled, make sure we're pointing to our only repository that we have in this project. Include and master branch is specified, and save. And that's our continuous integration build configured for your project. We then want to kick off a build by making a change to our source code, kicking off the continuous integration build. So we go to source, go back to repo, code files, source, parts unlimited, and we just want to add some comments to one of the files to trigger the build. We can edit here by clicking on edit by opening up the file. You could likewise do this on a local repo and push it up using git add, git commit, and git push. That would also trigger a build. We'll just edit directly in the editor here. And then we click commit to commit that change. And if we go to builds, releases, builds, we can see that this is our build definition, and we have a build in progress now. If we click the build number 54, we see that the build is kicked off. And this will run for several minutes. And when that's finished, we have a build succeeded message to let us know that the build completed successfully. And if we click on our build number, build 54 in this instance, that could be any number. It could be number 1 or it could be 101, depending on the number of builds you run. It goes up numerically one iteration at a time. And we can see we have a summary of what took place during our build. And the test results here, if we click on detailed report, we can see some tests which we had configured to run, some unit tests when the build's actually taken place. If we go to outcome all, we can see a list of all the unit tests that were passed, which is handy having it all in the one location. We can also get the broad summary. You see how long each task and action took. We can see the artifacts that were published. We can see them. It's in this repo here, in their drop, and it's in the format of a zip. You can download that and extract it if you want to have a look at the files and extract and have a look to see what's inside them. And that's our successful CI build triggered with an artifact generated.